Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Ki, Shri Giri Govardhan Ki, Sankirtan Yajna Ki, Go Premanande. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
As our President, His Grace Vibhu Chaitanya Prabhu, mentioned shortly in, what is it? It's about 10 days or something like that. Is the first day of Kartik. Haribol. And it's just such a wonderful occasion, it's just such a wonderful time. And he suggested that perhaps now we could just begin a little warm-up, just a first few steps forward to get ready for the actual observance of this very special occasion. What do you think? Anyway, regardless of what you think, we're going to do it. But it's good. It's Haribol. It's definitely worthy of a Haribol or two, because it's such a special occasion. Anyway, let's just get into it a bit here, and then we can bring out some of these points, how special it is and how it's worth it to prepare, to gear up, to get focused like that. So, therefore, we'll read from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 9. Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna. And let us begin by reading verse 19. Verse 20 is better known, but 19 is also just wonderful verse and very nice purport by Srila Prabhupada. So to begin though, let us you can just repeat after me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So yes, let us begin then by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 9. Mother Yashoda binds Lord Krishna, and we'll read verse 19 to begin, and let's see, we may read another verse or two. Let's see how it goes. This is Shukadev Goswami speaking. Evam sandarshita hyanga harina britya vashyata swavashe napi krishnena yasyedam seshvaram vashe. Translation. O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods, like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, The Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. Let us read the purport by Srila Prabhupada. This pastime of Krishna's is very difficult to understand, but devotees can understand it. It is therefore said, Darshayams tadvidam loka, atmano bhakta vashyatam, which is Srimad Bhagavatam 10:11-9. The Lord displays the transcendental attribute of coming under the control of his devotees. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 35, Ekopyaso rachaitum jagadanda kotim, yachchaktirasti jagadanda chaya yadanta, andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam, govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. By his one plenary portion as Paramatma, the Lord controls innumerable universes with all their demigods. Yet, he agrees to be controlled by a devotee. In the Upanishads, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead can run with more speed than the mind. But here we see that although Krishna wanted to avoid being arrested by his mother, he was finally defeated, and Mother Yashoda captured him. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam. Brahma Samhita, chapter 5, verse 29. Krishna is served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune. Nonetheless, he steals butter like one who is poverty-stricken. Yamaraj, the controller of all living entities, fears the order of Krishna. Yet Krishna is afraid of his mother's stick. These contradictions cannot be understood by one who is not a devotee. But a devotee can understand how powerful is unalloyed devotional service to Krishna. It is so powerful that Krishna can be controlled by an unalloyed devotee. This Bhritya Vashyata does not mean that he is under the control of the servant. Rather, he is under the control of the servant's pure love. In Bhagavad Gita 1:21, it is said that Krishna became the chariot driver of Arjuna. Arjuna ordered him, Senayor ubayor madhye, ratam stapaya mechuta. My dear Krishna, you have agreed to be my charioteer and to execute my orders. Place my chariot between the two armies of soldiers. Krishna immediately executed this order, and therefore one may argue that Krishna also is not independent. But this is one's ajnana, ignorance. Krishna is always fully independent. When he becomes subordinate to his devotees, this is a display of Ananda Chinmaya Rasa, the humor of transcendental qualities that increases his transcendental pleasure. Everyone worships Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he sometimes desires to be controlled by someone else. Such a controller can be no one else but a pure devotee. Such a nice verse and such a nice purport. It's amazing. Yes, so the verse again, Evam sandarshita hyanga harina bhritya vashyata. Swavashe napi Krishnena yasyedam seshvaram vase. Oh, Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe, with its great exalted demigods, like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, and Lord Indra, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. Actually, Krishna has many transcendental attributes, but this is an especially prominent one, especially important transcendental attribute of Lord Krishna. Yes, and even ultimately, it can be seen as, at least as one part of his most important attribute, Krishna's most important attribute, which is that how he loves his devotees. How he loves his devotees, and how he's willing, and not just willing, but he's happy to do anything for his devotee. That means particularly his very advanced devotee, but ultimately he's taking care of all of his devotees. The big ones like Mother Yashoda, big devotee, my gosh. And the little ones, like us sitting here, little devotees, but we're there somewhere. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shri Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschutyade Shatarne Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchakalpataribhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha. Patitanam bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Yes, so as Srila Shukadeva Goswami points out here, that in this particular pastime, Damodar Leela, the Kartik Leela, that in it, Lord Krishna is very vividly displaying this extra special, most special quality of his intimate relationship with his devotee. Of course, particularly his very, very advanced devotee, but as we mentioned, with all of his devotees, actually, ultimately. Just to, Mother Yashoda is Mother Yashoda. She is really such a great, great devotee. But in terms of there being a connection or connections between, you could say, the ordinary devotees and Krishna, or even you could say the beginning devotees. Let me just tell you one little story, which you may or may not have heard before, is that Srila Prabhupada, in, what would it be? Anyway, around 69, 70, or maybe even 69 really, Srila Prabhupada went to Germany. At that time, in Germany, there was one devotee, and his name was Krishna Das. And Krishna Das, bear in mind this is 68, 69, it's something along those lines. The movement is really in its early stages, phases. So, but this young Krishna Das, at the ripe old age of 18. How old are you? How many? 14. And you? 20. By comparison, you're practically an old man. So Krishna Das, at the age of 18, having been a devotee, he was a really senior devotee. He'd been a devotee for 2 years. Other than Prabhupada, practically no one had been a devotee for more than 2 years. He got the inspiration to go to Germany to establish the Krishna consciousness movement in Germany and preach the message. There was one technical hitch, was that he was unable to speak German. You go to Germany now, at least in the cities, and I would say it's unusual to meet people who, at least, if you meet someone who can't sort of manage to converse in English, I think it's pretty rare. But in those days, if you found someone who could converse in English, that was quite rare. And he just didn't speak German at all. Maybe from reading the World War II comics. I don't know if they still have them, but when I was young, the Second World War had just finished, like 5 years before. So it was very fresh in everyone's memory. And you get all these comic strips for children about the Second World War. And in it, of course, it's the British and the Americans fighting the Germans. And the Germans, the vocabulary displayed by the Germans was limited to Achtung, 9, what's it now? Schweinhund, Engländer. Just, you can figure out what that means. And that was about it, I think. And otherwise just screams of pain, because they were usually getting shot the most. So, no, people just didn't speak German unless they were German. And he went there. And he got, just as Prabhupada had done himself in New York, he got a little shop, a little storefront, they say, in America. Just a little shop. And that was it. It was ISKCON Germany. It was almost, well, it was ISKCON continental Europe too. Yeah. And there was like a front room, which was the temple room, which was the main shop room. And then this couple of storerooms in the back, and he was living there. And Srila Prabhupada came. And Prabhupada stayed perhaps 1 week, just Prabhupada and Krishna Das, and that's all. To get, as the movement developed a bit more, maybe like another 5 years perhaps, to get Prabhupada's personal association, to get Prabhupada to even know what your name is, that it was pretty rare. But Krishna Das, he was with Prabhupada, just the two of them, for a week or so. Amazing, just amazing. So anyway, my point was about how even someone who's not advanced, not experienced as a devotee, and not practiced deeply at all, not knowledgeable at all, but they're dear to the Lord. They're special people. Not as much as someone like Mother Yashoda, but don't underestimate anyone who is regularly chanting Hare Krishna. Don't underestimate. And particularly don't think you can just sort of disregard and not take seriously such persons. So anyway, there was Srila Prabhupada and Krishna Das for perhaps a week plus or minus. And one of the days was Ekadasi. One of the days was Ekadasi. So Srila Prabhupada did not eat in the morning. And he just sat in the little temple room, shop front. He just sat there and chanted right through the morning, right up to midday, like several hours, 6 hours perhaps, whatever, something like that, just chanting and chanting. And then around midday, around 12, Srila Prabhupada stopped. And he got up and he came through to the back room or couple of rooms, whatever was at the back. Really nothing very much. He came through and there was Krishna Das. And Srila Prabhupada came up to Krishna Das and said, Krishna Das, will you please pray to Krishna for me? Like, will you pray to Krishna to help me? This is the idea. And Krishna Das, even though he's only 18 and been a devotee a couple of years, he at least had the transcendental sort of wherewithal to understand the implication of this. So he didn't just say, sure, Prabhupada. In fact, he didn't really know what to say, because he realized this is a most extraordinary request. But what he said was actually very nice. He said, well, Srila Prabhupada, I don't think it will work. Yeah, I mean, what? Me pray to Krishna? I don't think Krishna will notice me. So he said like that I don't think it will work. I don't think Krishna will listen to me. But Prabhupada said, no. Krishna will hear you. You are his devotee. Krishna will hear you. So here, the point in this verse, and I'm trying to bring it out because it is the point of the whole month of Kartik, is that this is just the most vivid, in-depth demonstration of how important the devotees are, in the context of how important the devotees are to Krishna, how dear the devotees are to Krishna. It is really most amazing. And it's such an important point. And the pastime which is illustrating it is such an important pastime because it illustrates it, that we have here coming up in a couple of weeks, we have a whole month one entire month, which is dedicated simply to this one pastime. This one pastime of Mother Yashoda feeling she needs to tie up Krishna, trying to tie up Krishna, struggling, but eventually actually tying up Krishna. This one pastime and the implications of it, they're focused on every year for this entire month. What do you think of that? You know, even Janmashtami, Lord Krishna's appearance day, or Gopurnima, Ram Navami, even Radhastami, and you know, all these days, so many of you are familiar enough with them. Generally speaking, they get focused on for a day, on the day, or maybe a couple of days, or sometimes we do, and you know, in the Hindu world, sometimes they do a week program before Ram Navami or a week before Janmashtami. And we've also, we sometimes do programs like that. But here we have this one pastime, and it is being focused on for 1 month, for one whole month. That must indicate something in terms of importance, significance, and value. It must. So therefore, we're just beginning our little warm-up now, even though we're still a couple of weeks away, just so we can gear up and get focused. And when it comes, we can really be ready to make the most of it. Yes, take advantage of it in a nice sense for our well-being and our development in Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada did say that just like when a shop owner has some shop or other, and every day the shop's open, he's selling the same things every day, and you can go in there any day pretty much, and the different items are selling for the same prices. It's not like you go in on Monday and they're one price, and you go in on Tuesday, they're another price, and you go in on Wednesday, they're another price, and come back in a couple of hours and they're another price. It's generally pretty stable. But Srila Prabhupada made the point that sometimes the shopkeeper, the shop owner, has a sale, and then you can get the same items for less, sometimes for much less, but at least for less. And there is no law that on certain days for however long, a week or something, that every shopkeeper must have a sale, and they must reduce the prices by X%. There's nothing like that. It's just up to the shopkeeper. It's just up to the shopkeeper or shop owner, and he can do it or not do it, and he can change the price by this amount or that amount. It's just up to him. So Srila Prabhupada said that Kartik, the month of Kartik, means Krishna is having a sale. Krishna is having a sale. And you can get the usual items, means Krishna prema, advancement in Krishna consciousness, mercy from the Lord, these, so to speak, usual things which are available all the time from Krishna. But you can get them you can get them much easier than on the usual days. And therefore, it's a good idea to make the most of it. Of course, we shouldn't think in a kind of, what would you say, mechanistic, mechanical type of way that we don't need to bother the rest of the time, but when Kartik comes, we'll make a big effort and it'll just make up for how we haven't been bothering the rest of the time. Sometimes it's said that during Kartik, your devotional service, you get 1,000 times the benefit. And 16 rounds, how many Hare Krishna Maha Mantras are in 16 rounds? A quick calculation, 108 times 16 is 1,720. You got matric, right? Okay, it's 1,728. So if now you're getting 1,000 times the benefit, you can just chant, what would it be? 2 mantras. 2 mantras. And that's now going to be equal to 2,000 chantings of the Hare Krishna mantra. It's more, it's like 17 or 18 rounds or something like that. So no, we don't think in those terms. That during Kartik, I will chant the Hare Krishna mantra 3 times a day. And in this way, I will get, the same benefit as chanting 50 rounds. Anyway, don't think in those terms, but just know there's special mercy. There's really special mercy. And it's all kind of summed up in this pastime with Mother Yashoda and Lord Krishna, the Damodar Leela. The whole month is named after that Leela. So, in that pastime, these points are brought out very nicely indeed. That Mother Yashoda, she's always very concerned about Krishna, and that's sort of like Krishna's okay, Krishna's all right, Krishna is not getting into trouble, because Krishna's prone to be mischievous. I've mentioned a couple of times in the last few days about my maternal grandfather. You might wonder what he's got to do with much, and that's a good question. But my maternal grandfather, his name was Norman. And when he was small, when he was a little boy, he was also naughty. And when I was a small boy, when I was kind of youngish, I was told they had a mantra in regard to little Norman. The mantra was, go and see what Norman is doing and stop him. Anyway, so much for Norman. But Krishna was being naughty. Krishna's sort of prone to naughtiness. In the purport we read Srila Prabhupada saying about how he stole the butter, even though it's amazing. Lakshmi Sahasra Shata Sambrahma Sevyamanam, Brahma Samhita chapter 5 verse 29, that Lord Krishna is served by hundreds and thousands of goddesses of fortune, but nonetheless, he steals butter like one who is poverty-stricken. How could it be? How could it be? Why? Why should he do that? Steal the butter. He can easily get as much butter as he likes. So, but it's a question of affectionate relationship. between the Lord and his devotees. You may know that Mother Yashoda was in considerable anxiety because Krishna was getting into this habit of stealing the butter every day. And Krishna was getting a bit of a bad name for stealing the butter. Mother Yashoda was concerned. And so what Mother Yashoda did to help Krishna, she selected out of Nanda Maharaja's herd of many cows, many beautiful, amazing cows. She selected a small group, like 9 or 10, who were the best and who gave the best milk. Then she went around Vraj Mandala to find the places where the best grass was growing, because the quality and quantity of the milk depends to a large degree, at least an extremely important factor, is the quality of the grass. If the cows get very lush, green grass, then the milk is plentiful and very rich in quality. So she found all those places where the best grass was growing, and every day she'd go out and cut the grass by hand herself, come back and feed it to the best cows they're all just waiting back at home, and then milk them herself and make yogurt from the milk herself and make butter from the yogurt herself, and then just hand it over to Krishna. You know, you've got maybe 10 cows, say, and maybe each cow every day is giving, if the cow is really doing well, the cow will give maybe 40 liters a day, 20 liters twice a day. It can be like that, of first class, full cream milk. Forget about your 2.5%. Do they call it blue label or whatever? You know what I mean? The skimmed milk. This is the full cream stuff. Yeah. So how much butter they'd get every day from, say, 400 liters of this rich milk, it would really be a lot. Really a lot. And she'd just take it and just give it to Krishna. There, take it, bang. Just eat it. I don't know, maybe 50 kilos of butter, or we're talking about at least 50 kilos of butter. And it was the best butter. And Krishna would start eating. And Mother Yashoda would go away, but then she'd come back to check after 5 minutes, and Krishna was gone. He was out next door stealing the next door neighbor's butter. And Mother Yashoda couldn't understand, why is this? She was getting an inferiority complex about her butter. And she was really afraid that Krishna, my little boy, he's going to grow up. He's going to grow up to become a criminal. He's going to grow up to become the head of the makan. You know, makan means butter. The makan mafia. And yeah, he'll become known. And everyone will say, what sort of useless mother did this fellow have? Couldn't train him properly. And now he's become a crook. Now he's stealing butter. Maybe in the future he will steal buffalo carts and chariots. what do they call it? Hijacking, yeah, hijacking. So she was worried. But it is not just a question of the butter. You know, everyone has their favorite prasadam, I think. What's your favorite prasadam? Paneer. Paneer and paneer. Or butter paneer or butter. Butter paneer. What's your favorite prasadam? She said kachori. Kachori. What type? Huh? Paneer and sweet corn. You're a bona fide South African devotee. No, that's really good. And what's your favorite? Beans and roti. He's really bona fide. Okay. Why are you laughing like that? Yeah, all right. And Radha Priya, what's your favorite? Paneer. Paneer and paneer, or paneer and? Butter paneer. Okay. We see some themes are arising here. So everyone, I think, has their favorite prasadam. But it's not exactly just that Krishna just likes to eat butter just because to him it tastes good. We've explained this before. It's explained actually by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that the cows who are giving the milk, they're not just dumb animals, they're devotees. They know who Krishna is, and they all feel deep relationships with Krishna, and each one feels, I want Krishna to get my milk, or things made from my milk. And in this way, all their love goes into their milk. And then when the ladies are making the different things from the milk, in this case, making the yogurt and then churning the yogurt into butter, they're also thinking, we want Krishna to get this butter. And their love is going in. And Krishna, the only thing Krishna's really interested in is love. He doesn't really care so much about so many other factors which are there, but it's the love which he's interested in. You know, there was one great devotee living, say, 100 years ago or something along those lines. His name was Vamsidas Babaji. And he was an avaduta, kind of like, sort of wild character. Yeah, wild character, kind of uncultured externally. Sometimes he would offer he had a Gopal deity, he had Gauratai deities. Sometimes he would offer Gopal uncooked brinjal. I have not tried uncooked brinjal. Have you? Anyone tried uncooked? I think we haven't tried it because it's generally understood to not really be very nice. But he would just sometimes offer, just cut up the brinjal, there you go, and offer it to his deities. And the Lord would accept because of the love, not because there was some fancy cooking techniques, that sort of thing. So there's so much love there then in that butter that Krishna he would just be driven. I must get the butter, and he would get it. He would get the butter at any cost. He would take all sorts of risks to get the butter. You know the one famous little story? Krishna is climbing up to get the butter. The butter is suspended from the ceiling because they don't want him to steal it. And in order to protect it as a sort of security arrangement, the householders put bells on this pot, which is hanging from the ceiling. So if anyone touches it, the bells are going to ring. And Krishna climbed up. So Krishna's there, and he looks at the situation and he thinks, sure, this is going to be really difficult not, moving the pot at all and avoiding having the bells ring. It's going to be really difficult. So what Lord Krishna did, little Lord Krishna, he spoke to the bells. And he said, listen, you know I appreciate you so much. And now I want a special favor. I am going to take some butter. I want you not to ring. And in return, I will be your best friend. I will be your best friend. And the bells replied. And the bells said, sure, steal butter. We will not ring. We will be your friends. So Krishna put his hand in over the top and took some butter, and is about to go away with the butter, but then he's looking at it, and it looked just so nice. He decided he had to eat some, so he ate some up there. And you know what happened? The bells rang. And Krishna said, what are you doing? You promised you would not ring. And the bells said, yes. We said that when you steal the butter, we will not ring. But when God eats, you have to ring a bell. So we had to ring. Yes. So anyway, but the point is Krishna wants to taste the love, the different sort of varieties of love. Love is not just like one thing, like some water from the tap. It's just water from the tap. Love is multifaceted, and different devotees have loves of different types, different quantities, with different features in the love. It's really quite a complex and very interesting picture. So like this, Krishna would like to taste the butter from each of the houses in the village, because each household had butter with some somewhat different qualities because of the different qualities of the ladies in the different houses. And that was his point. That was his point. His point was not just, I want to get the best butter, that, I am served by all these goddesses of fortune. I can get them to go out to, some special butter shop and get some really fancy butter. Because different butters made from milk, from cows which have been eating different grasses, the butter tastes different. If they eat lucerne, for example, it'll have a particular taste. If they eat what they call teff, it's kind of a cheap grass, it'll have a different taste. if they eat kikuyu, it'll have a different taste. Anyway, so much for that. The idea is not just to go to some sophisticated shop to get some sophisticated butter. The idea is to taste the love. And therefore Krishna, he could just sit there and eat all of Mother Yashoda's butter, which is just nectarian. But he wanted to taste the different types of loves, the different flavors of the different loves of all the different ladies in the village. Therefore, he went house to house. He went house to house, getting a little some butter from every house, because each butter had a different type of nature of love imbued within it. So this is very nice. This is very nice. How this whole month, it's focused on this one point of how the devotees love Krishna and how Krishna becomes ultimately controlled by that love. Prabhupada makes the point in the purport that the idea is not exactly that Krishna is under the control of the devotee, but the point is Krishna is under the control of the devotee's love. So, if at any time any devotee were to start to think that, yes, I'm controlling Krishna because of me, just because I'm me, then means a lack of love. So Krishna's interest would reduce in that devotee. Just like sometimes it can happen in any service that a devotee is doing the service very nicely, Krishna is pleased, and the devotee is being very successful. But then the devotee starts thinking that it's not Krishna's mercy that I'm successful, it's me, it's my expertise, because I'm maybe a very clever cook. Dinabandhu Prabhu from Vrindavan was here some years ago, and he was telling us of an experience that he had, that the head cook, wherever he was just cooking absolutely fantastic. You think you get good roti and beans here. Whoa, you should have seen those rotis and beans. My gosh. And butter paneer. Whew. Just like nectar. Yeah. So yeah, the cook was doing really well. Everything was just wonderful. But then somehow the cook started to think that this is all going on because I am a clever cook. I'm experienced and I know the recipes and so on. So one day, in that mood of yes, 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 here I am again. Here's the 5-star cook coming in again to cook the 7-star prasadam. What shall I cook? How shall I amaze the devotees today? I know, I will cook a cake. I will bake a cake, the likes of which are never seen even on the heavenly planets. So he baked a cake. He baked a cake. And then it was time to serve it out to the devotees. There's all the devotees sitting down. Cook is standing there watching, waiting for the compliments. And the cake is served out. First devotee takes a bite. And it's like, oh, what is this? And just spat it out. And the next one, same thing. Oh my God, this is shocking. And the poor cook, he just about had a heart attack. And then he took a little nibble, and you know what he realized? Instead of putting sugar in, he had put salt. And you know, if you know much about cooking, you know that salt is much stronger than sugar. It's so much stronger than sugar. And so this was just like overpowering, salty taste, just horrible. So these things happen. These things happen if we start thinking we're becoming expert and the devotees are pleased because of our expertise. It's really just that Krishna is giving us some mercy in our service, and that way we're able to do the service nicely. On book distribution, sometimes it happens. You distribute a lot of books. We had a mantra, 100 a day keeps Maya away. If you distribute 100 books a day, you know, you won't be in Maya. You'll be in just pretty amazing consciousness. And I would say in general it's true. But sometimes after doing 100 a day for a few days, if the devotee starts thinking, yes, just see my expertise and I can convince anybody and good for me, patting myself on the back, then the next day, out you go thinking, yes, here I am again, it's another 100 books today. First thing that happens, you meet someone who took a book yesterday, and they come up to you and they're really angry, and they give you the book back. Take it back. Give me my money back. And you have to do it. And so you start off the day with -1 book. And, you know, sometimes it ends up being one of those days. Sure, a book distributor's nightmare. So the point is the love. The point is the love, not the expertise. Although expertise is fine, expertise is great, as long as there's a foundation of love. And this is what's brought out in this pastime. This is what's brought out. That because of the love of Mother Yashoda, Lord Krishna became controlled. And she was able to tie him. That person who people, certain like jnanis and philosophers, they're searching for him for many years with different speculations and things like that. People like the mystical yogis, for years they're doing some sort of meditation so they can get some realization of the super soul. But it can take years and it may not even happen at all. But the same person, the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, Mother Yashoda, is controlling and tying him up. And other times she would tell Krishna, come here, and Krishna comes. But if some lesser mortal like us, if we try to tell Krishna, Krishna, come here. Anyway, as Krishna Das said, you remember, with Prabhupada in Germany, I don't think it'll work. In this case, I really don't think it'll work, actually. Yes. We can very humbly pray for some mercy, but we can't start getting, ordering Krishna around. But Mother Yashoda did, on the basis of her love. So, anyway, in the end, they all lived happily ever after, of course. But in the end, Mother Yashoda untied Krishna. Well, in the end, according to Srila Jiva Goswami, Nanda Maharaj, Krishna's father, Mother Yashoda's husband, and he's like the king of that community, the big leader. He came and he saw Krishna tied up. And he asked him, what happened to you? Who did this? And Krishna said, it was my mother. And Nanda Maharaj went to her and said, why have you tied him up? And she tried to explain, but Nanda Maharaj wasn't so interested. And Krishna was in that sort of mood. She tied me up. Why? I don't know. You must have done something. No, I didn't do anything. I was being good. And then he goes to Yashoda and says, why did you tie him up? And she tried to explain, but she couldn't. So then she untied Krishna. And Nanda Maharaj says, okay, so you're all right now, Krishna. You're untied. No, that's fine. I've got to go now out into the fields to herd the cows. And Krishna said, this is little Krishna, 3 years old or so. Krishna says, I'm coming with you. Nanda Maharaj says, coming with me? You can't come with me. I'm going out in the fields. I have to chase around after the cows. Krishna said, I'm coming with you. And Nanda Maharaj said, you must stay with your mother. No. Why? She tied me up. She may tie me up again. And Nanda Maharaj said, but you've got to drink her breast milk. Krishna said, I will drink the milk of the cows. And Nanda Maharaj said, but all your friends are here. Who are you going to play with? Krishna said, I will play with you. And, in other words, he's fried with mom, with his mother. And Nanda Maharaj, seeing this and wanting to kind of prompt Krishna to change his attitude, Nanda Maharaj says to Krishna, so she mistreated you? Yes. Should she be punished? Yes. And Nanda Maharaj raised his hand and said, shall I beat her viciously? And Krishna said, no, 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 no. Because actually he loves Mother Yashoda. So in that way, Krishna became pacified and he stayed with Mother Yashoda. So it's such a beautiful pastime. And the point behind it is just so beautiful and just so important for us to learn that we have to approach Krishna in a mood of service. We have to try to cultivate love. So this is what we need to learn to make progress in our own Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna. Let us, we have what it looks like, is it two or three questions. One is an extensive question. Look at this. Sure. Just listen to this. Fasten your seatbelts. Why does it seem that Srila Prabhupada avoided preaching in the Middle East? That is, fanatical Islamic countries. Although before the appearance of the false prophet, Muhammad, okay, that's you speaking, the people in the Middle East were part of the Indian Empire and spoke Sanskrit. They led a Vedic lifestyle. There are many examples, but even the word Arabistan means land of horses in Sanskrit. The custom of praying 5 times a day, for example, can be first traced back to Vedic lifestyle. King Vikramaditya, the Vedic and pious religious king of then Saudi Arabia, was praised as a righteous ruler by the very people who now call themselves Muslim. So what's the question? Why does it seem that Prabhupada avoided preaching in the Middle East? I think that's the question. Yes. Well, Prabhupada, the Acharya doesn't need to just go out on the streets every day. That's not really the service of the Acharya. He sends out the devotees to go and preach in the streets. Like even Srila Prabhupada said very clearly that GBCs generally should not go out and preach to the ordinary people, but they should encourage the devotees in general to go out and preach to the people. That's meant to be sort of their preaching, is to preach to the devotees, to get the devotees to preach. You know, of course, to preach in the Middle East was and still is dangerous. It was more dangerous at the time Prabhupada was there. Some of our devotees were captured by the PLO. You know what PLO is? Palestinian Liberation Organization. They got captured in, I think, Beirut, or anyway, somewhere there, and tortured. And this one devotee was telling the story how he was in a cell and they had captured various other people, not devotees, but just people for different reasons who were in the other cells. And every now and then they'd take someone out of one of the other cells, just like next door or a couple of cells away, and kill him right there. Yeah. And even they did some mock executions with this one devotee. His name's Brahma Das. They did some mock executions. They come up to him with a gun, normal gun, put it to his head, pull the trigger, and they just go click, because there was no bullet there. They're just playing a game with him. It was really just extremely difficult. But still, some devotees went, and they really, they tried very hard. They had some success. And Srila Prabhupada was really appreciative, extremely appreciative. Even now, we go to Dubai, and ISKCON is very active, although we don't have a center. But you cannot walk in the streets of Dubai dressed like this. You have to go in just normal Western type dress to, like the house where the program is going on. Everyone goes in normal Western dress. They go into the house, they change into their devotee clothes, have the program, finish the program, change back, and go. And when they have programs mainly in devotees' houses, and they cannot even park in front of the house. They have to park around the block, here and there, and just all over the place, so the authorities don't think something is happening in this house. Because then the police can just come in and investigate, and it can be a real problem. And that's Dubai, which is relatively liberal. If you go to, I haven't been to Saudi Arabia, I believe it's the worst, but to Qatar, Doha, there are many devotees there having many programs, and it's much worse. The government is much heavier. So, what would be the point of having Srila Prabhupada himself trying to go into these places? It's just, it's not really for the Acharya to do. But he sent some young young devotees to try and do it. And as a result, there are devotees in these countries, although not many. And anyway, all these things about Arabistan and praying 5 times a day and King Vikramaditya, there may, who knows exactly, but there may have been, a really manifest Vedic presence going back hundreds of years or a couple of thousand years, whatever it may be. But just see what bad association can do. If you say that it was very Vedic and Krishna conscious 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, whatever it is, but just see, those very Krishna conscious people got turned into real demons, like really serious demons. Just see what bad association can do. If you get enough of it, and if it's bad enough, it can just destroy a person's Krishna consciousness and just turn them into something else. Okay, just now to lighten things up, a final question, a light one. Please let us know if we were all once in the spiritual world and fell to the material world. A light subject matter, thank you. Will we not fall again from the spiritual world if we reach there again? I read, quite a few years ago actually, I read a statement of Srila Prabhupada's specifically in this regard. Someone asked him that, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, when you go back there, you never come back here again. So is it really like that? Is it that we will not fall back down again if we go back to Godhead? And what I read that Srila Prabhupada said was, Prabhupada said, so far, no one has come back. Yes. Which I thought was very astute answer. So yeah, don't be in anxiety that if I leave Chatsworth and go to Goloka Vrindavan, I may fall back again to Unit 6 or even Unit 2, and it's going to be a real letdown. So maybe I should just stay here and so just, tolerate. No, we should try to go back to Godhead, and yes, we can rest assured and feel secure, confident that if we go back to Godhead, then we'll stay there with Krishna, and it will just be really wonderful. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Srila Prabhupada ki. Go Premanande. Haribol. Someone else.